I know it might look pretty, but this is a serious disease we were talking about here. You know, a lot of these diseases these days are being classified psychological disorders. It's not a laughing matter. I think this particular mental disorder, I think we might as well classify it. I'm going to put a name on it. I'm going to call it Botanicus Addictus Locus. Botanicus Addictus Locus. That roughly translates through a bunch of broken Spanish and some Greek to, you are frigging addicted to plants, brother. You got a problem. No, this is my good client, Daniel Levin's garden. And it's extremely obvious that Daniel did not read the warning label on my website. Look, if you guys are going to buy plants from me, before you come down there, I don't want to take responsibility for this kind of thing to happen to you. So you got to read the warning label on my website. It's on every single page. It says product warning label in bold red print. I don't understand. I put it right there. I'm the only nursery on earth that's put a product warning label, you know, on their website, and yet people still don't read it. And then this is what happens. I mean, look at this. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous what's happened here. I mean, there's so much crazy stuff here. I don't even know what it is. Some kind of Proteaceae, something or other. Of course, you've got a big old Aloe Hercules here. Look at these guys. Same plant bending over. It's a pretty ugly plant when it's just rolling around, but it's got its own crazy beauty to it. But look at this. Woohoo! Nelly. And it's not even like a pretty blooming time of year. It's October, like 3rd in the Bay Area. You've got puyas, super beautiful puyas. So this is my client Dan Levin's garden in Piedmont. I'm not going to give you the address. He probably doesn't need any stalkers. But look at this crazy solanum he has. Look at that. That's not your typical potato vine there. I'm not sure what species this is, but look at the beautiful yellow spines on that. Isn't that pretty? So what we're doing for Dan today, I haven't been here since we planted a bunch of these plants, like, must have been 5 years ago. My buddy, David Schwartz. David Schwartz gets honorable mention here. He's a fantastic architect from Marin. I can vouch for him, but you must have budget, because when he puts rocks in, he really puts rocks in. And I'm about as heavy as I've ever been at 215 after vacationing in Italy. Lots of cheese and crackers and wine. But look how big this rock is. This is the kind of rock that David, you know, some people's budget for their whole yard is not as much for that one rock. But David does amazing work. He did the hardscape. I helped out with a lot of the plants. But the thing is that Dan is a plant collector. So here's an aloe, some beautiful aloe from South Africa, blooming in October. So beautiful. Has purple stems, if you can see that. Real beautiful purple. But Dan is a plant collector. Like, look at this thing. I don't even know what this is. Does anybody know what this is? Dan's coming by shortly. We'll probably have another little video on what the heck is that, Dan? Look at the beautiful purple fuchsia. Pretty, pretty, pretty. So what's cool about this garden, a lot like my garden, look, there's more protea. Look at this protea. The leucodendron, I guess. But look at the texture on that. So pretty. So Dan, like me, just plants a whole bunch of plants in his garden. And we planted these yucca rostratas. They're so iridescent right there. And looks like one of them bloomed, big white bloom. But Dan's style of planting is a lot like mine. Look at the butterflies going. Look, I guess those are moths. They're going for the salvia, and that would be crassula down there. Forget the name of the species. You got your drosanthemums from South Africa blooming. These will bloom heavily in the spring, but they'll have sporadic bloom the rest of the year. Ground cover of grevillea, something low so it doesn't totally swallow your big boulder you spent so much money on that David talked you into. Look at the backlit spines of this puya. Look at down here. Get a little zoom action. Get fancy with the video. Isn't that beautiful? Look at the light, how the light shines through there. Such a beautiful plant. Hopefully you're seeing what I'm seeing. Otherwise, you need to eat the other kind of mushroom. Anyway, there you go. Look at that big, beautiful silver aeonium. I just got that one, that type. I don't even know the name of that one, but we sell it at the nursery. Just because you don't know the name doesn't mean you can't sell it. Got the fan aloe, but back to the point of design here. I think he does need some vertical elements along the strip here. There's a Cousonia trying to come up, a cabbage tree from Australia. No, I'm sorry, South Africa. And he needs a little bit more water because even in the Bay climate, he's killing Diamondia, which is really tough to do. It's not killing it, it'll probably come back. But back to the point of the design. It's so easy to get sidetracked in this business, as you can see. Look at that. Speaking of which, look at that lighting right there. Wow. Another Proteaceae of some sort. But what Dan does is kind of like what I do. You throw all the cool plants in there and you let the best man win, or the best woman, or the best plant, or the best flower, or the best coning plant, or the best primitive cycad win. You just let them go crazy and you end up with this beautiful texture. There's Lomandra grass in there. It's a beautiful grass to use. What else do we recognize here? Some other really beautiful grasses. I don't know those grasses, but those sure are pretty. Maybe somebody could tell me what all the grasses are. When you say, hey, Gary, that grass is whatever, say that's at mile marker 659 on the video. That way everybody will know. It's all about an education for you, me, and everybody else. Beautiful. Look at the patterns on the agave. So pretty. Look at that. Let's see, we have Safari Sunset over here, another Protea family member here. Look at the color. It's not in the sun, so you can't really appreciate the color, but it's such a beautiful plant. Look at the color on it, just close up there. Ooh. Yeah, you need light, better light. But look at the variegation and the foliage. Really striking. This is a wonderful plant. Sometimes they get really red, like that one right there. That's a pretty good example. Even something as simple as blue lobelia that's just creeping around, filling the gaps. And you've got your aloe fighting it out, duking it out with two different types of agave in there. So, so the cool thing here is that Dan has this big street here, but you can't really tell because, he made this massive mounding effect. Here's an example of where David's boulder is just lost forever, but they're still there if you cut it back. I want to know what this one is. This is super cool. Not really much fragrance, but I don't know. What is this? Is this almost looks like a Beschneria or something, but I don't know. There's Iris confusa right there. It's confused whether it's an iris or not. Creeps around. Beautiful flowers in spring. No flowers now. There's my big, beautiful lime green Livistona chinensis that I put up there long ago. Here's his clump of banana. Up here, this is the yellow flowering banana. Musa sycamensis, I think it's called. But what's cool is that, like I was saying, that Dan plants all this stuff, gets all wild, and then he doesn't do any maintenance whatsoever for like a couple of years. And then he goes in and hits it hard. But this is the kind of style that you can get away with that. Everybody says, well, I want a low maintenance garden. Well, get rid of your lawn and buy a blower to blow all your patios, and then plant a bunch of this kind of stuff. And then you won't have to maintain your garden at all for quite a while. Here's a big, giant, leaning, this is where we started over there next to that beautiful blooming yellow rhododendron. It's a tropical rhododendron. And I think these things actually grow epiphytically. But look at this big leaning Mediterranean fan palm that we put out here. I put this in with my crane years ago. I forgot to tell you, I got sidetracked, but the point of why we're here today is Dan donated this really awesome tree like 15 years ago to his church and synagogue, and I think my focus left. And they didn't like it, or they wanted to get rid of it for some reason. He tried to talk him into moving it on site, better spot. But anyway, they said, no, we want to get rid of it. And so I'm moving it for him over next to that big giant bird of paradise over there. And it's a super fabulous, perfectly formed quintuplet trunked Phoenix Phoenix reclinata and Phoenix robellini, the reclining date palm from Africa, and the pygmy palm from Vietnam, something like that. Here's a puya. Look at this puya. It's a type of bromeliad. It's really crazy looking. Look at it. Look at the color. It's like silvery foliage. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that wild? I don't know which one it is. But look what it does. It gets this flower stalk, and then it gets jiggy with it, with a little bit of whoopee and a little bit of loopy and doopy and troopy. And then it goes up all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, and it makes a super soft material. And then it makes this crazy flower. And these things, no, they're not fragrant. I thought maybe they were, but they're not. But look at this like crazy sky flower. It's super tall. It's like 10-foot tall flower. So that's, imagine that as a cut flower inside of a big giant building, you know, like something super fabulous, like a big event for Larry Ellison and company, which I've rented plants to. You wouldn't believe what they do. Here's something super awesome that I sold Dan a while ago. This is the tallest palm in the world. Not this particular plant, but this species of palm grows in Colombia. It's Ceroxylon alpinum, this ceiling wax palm, because it hits the ceiling of the heavens. When the Spanish came to the Americas, they didn't see the redwood yet. And so they saw this thing, and it was 200 feet tall. Now, if you ever know Mexican fan palms only get like 100 to 120 feet tall. This thing gets like twice that tall, if you can believe it. Tallest palm of any palm in the world. It grows high in the elevations up there. It's kind of a slow, difficult palm to get established here, but it has this beautiful white tomentose material on the back, which gives it this really striking, unique texture to it. And they love the Bay Area. They don't like Southern California because it's too hot. They like a cloud forest environment, which is perfect here. Now, Dan, you can tell, is addicted to, amongst other things, bromeliads. Look at all the cool bromeliads he has. They're everywhere. And it doesn't stop. Look. Dan can't get enough. He can't get enough plants. He doesn't have enough plants. Oh, look at it. Look at this pineapple. Isn't that cool? It's variegated. Look at all the little offsets you can make baby plants with. But yeah, you can probably eat that thing. I'm gonna smell it. See if it smells like pineapple yet. Maybe a little bit. But it came from this one here. And you've got your giant Monstera deliciosa, always a wonderful plant. I can see why they call it Monstera, because it's a monster. Because eventually it starts creeping around, taking over your life. So it's good to see that Dan decided to buy more plants. You can tell he just bought all this stuff from some mail order Tillandsia place. Look at all these things. Look how pretty they are. Look at that one right there. So he's going to invariably like mount these things all over on trees and stuff. Here's some going on some cork right there. Here's Sansevieria, some crazy Sansevieria from South Africa. And then here's another one, a little different. This one bloomed. I don't know what that looks like when it blooms. So I got to get Dan over here and he can actually give me a little bit of an education. What do we have over here? More of the same. One really cool bromeliad that I sold him way back when was this one here. This is Marissa Imperialis. And it grows in Brazil and it gets huge. And it turns bright red in the sun. So that's a really cool one. But here's an aroid. So Dan is in the Aroid Society. The aroids are like these crazy plants like philodendrons and things that climb up into trees in the tropics. I don't know which one this is. I'm sure Dan does. But anyway, I don't know what Dan does, but he really should have opened a nursery because this is just too cool. There's a Lupillo Zinnia right there, I believe. And I'm not sure even what that thing is right there. That's an aroid of some sort. It's coming out of the ground. It's got this crazy stem to it. Look at that. It's like camouflage. Maybe that's where they invented camouflage. They looked at that plant and said, I know, let's make camouflage. So what else? Beautiful taro around the water feature. Great thing about this water feature, not only it acts as a sound wall physically from the road, but it also acts as the shape of the wall. David is pretty brilliant. He basically made it such that it's like a parabola. Parabola is inward arced shape, and that kind of shape really radiates the sound in here. You get rid of all the city noise and any traffic that's on the road. Oh look, over here, I noticed this too. This is Tubochina from Brazil, and there's a regular one, Urbillana, a couple others. This one here is, let's see. This one here has this beautiful white center to it. I'm sorry to put my ugly hand in there next to such a beautiful thing, but it's not shaking. Anyway, so there we go. We're gonna go ahead and plant one more plant in this garden because it doesn't have enough. But please, people, before I destroy your life and you end up with some chaos like this on an otherwise normal street, look at all the normal people. Let me show you the normal people, what they do, just so you know. I'm sure everybody else doesn't have this disease on this street. Let's see. Yeah, see, those people, they don't have this disease. They just have some camellias, sycamores. And these people have boxwood and more boxwood, sycamores. But pretty much normal people on the street, except for Dan. He's the only rule breaker of having interesting stuff that's different from everybody else, because that's breaking the rules. Who wants to break rules? So there's our palm. I'm gonna go get busy and start planting that thing so I can get home and have a beer. Okay. Dan,
Gary,
I think it's fair to say, it's fairly obvious, you've got a problem, my friend. You're seriously got a problem here. You know there's a new name for this sort of mental disorder?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's called Botanicus addictus locus.
Nice.
It's botanically addicted to, you're crazy because you're botanically addicted to plants.
Guilty as charged.
So what do you have to say about that?
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, how'd that happen? What? Okay, let's start. First, you're born.
Right, I was born.
Like you weren't addicted to plants when you were born.
Probably.
You were.
Yeah, well, so I came to find out late in life, like it's like 15, 20 years ago, so I'm that old, that my great-great-grandfather was a famous agronomist. And he was the guy who actually was the first Jew to grow cotton in Israel, the land of Israel.
Oh, they have everything there now. They're like leading the world in agriculture.
Right.
Drip irrigation was
I had no
there.
idea, but he had been in Egypt and he had like selected special seed strains. And back then it wasn't so easy to get around. He came back and he started growing and he like started a whole industry.
So it's in your DNA.
In my DNA, but I will say
it's not his fault. It's in his DNA. Some people are born like this.
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody. My grandma liked plants, but not a plant like this.
So when I was like 5, my mom would take me down to Long's in Santa Cruz, right?
Yeah.
And there would be the packs of germanes, brand seeds that would show up in the spring, and it was like the best thing ever. And I would read up on all the things. I would collect the seeds.
This is before the internet. We had to work. We had to work to get the information back then. Now it's like, oh, oh, that's from Africa. Oh, that's from Madagascar.
That's it.
Now you could even image a plant and know what it is.
So
like,
I think
it's too easy.
Yeah, I would take the Sunset Western Garden book into the bathroom, close the door, lock it, and I would just like read it cover to cover.
No, I did the same thing. I read the whole thing cover to cover.
Yeah, some guys do other.
And I would look at it and go, wait a minute.
The plants, yeah.
King palms grow here fine. It says zone 23 and 24. That's bullshit. shit.
Right?
I'm going to call these guys up.
Yeah, right?
But anyway.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
So moving on. Here we are in Dan's garden. Somehow he went from being bored to being a plant addict. This is not going to help you, but you'll be happy to know that I have a warning label on every page of my website in bright red print that addresses the risks of coming to the nursery and buying one single cool plant, which that's how it starts for most people.
Right.
And
a
then,
succulent or something. Yeah.
And then it ends up just going off the hook. All right, so what's your favorite plant? I know you're into aeroids, you're into cycads, you're into bromeliads, you're into phalancias, you're into proteaceae.
Yeah, there's no one favorite.
There's no one favorite.
No, it's like what's your favorite beer,
I
your
know.
favorite wine.
I know, it's
your favorite-
impossible.
Yeah.
And you make wine, so you know how that works. Can we buy your wine? Can they buy your...
Yeah.
Want to put a plug in?
No,
He doesn't need it. It's all sold out. All right, so anyway, let's just do a little tour here.
All right.
Like one thing I didn't know the name of that
Yeah.
you just... well, first of all, you know, Dan's going to make me look stupid because I don't know a lot of these things here. What? What are we looking at?
It's called, well,
I'm gonna
first
come
of
check
all,
this out. Here, let me grab the camera.
it's not
My
showing,
turn.
not showing well because it doesn't like the heat, and we just had a heat wave. It's Dendroceras littoralis. It's in the sunflower family.
Is it Mexico?
No,
where's it from?
comes from
Almost looks like
the
Polynesia or something.
San Juan Islands. I think it's San Juan,
Off Chile?
Chile.
No
yes.
way.
Yeah, and it was something they had only discovered not that long ago, and
Wow.
not that many of them, and they've been propagating, and this
So-
has been in the ground now for 6 years.
What this reminds me of a little bit
Yeah.
is your Coreopsis out front, your
Right,
giant
yeah.
Coreopsis.
I can tell you.
Well, look, it looks totally dead, this stuff.
Yeah, no,
but
when this is in winter, I mean, the leaves get to be like this.
really?
Oh, yeah.
You
It's
have
super
another one right over there. I love
Yeah,
how you
yeah.
left this one. Let's look at this one.
cool. Yeah.
So here's
I've
Dan's.
got another young one coming along, too, up
Here-
the path.
Here's Dan's driveway, and us plant people, well, we make you yield to plants.
That's right.
You know, it's like, you know, whatever. The plant has the right of way.
Always.
Isn't that right?
Always.
Speaking of right of way, here's our. So I have these crazy big leaning Mediterranean fan palms that I took so much effort to get, and Dan is one of the only people who appreciated that. And look what he did with it. He.
Get out of your way, man.
Well, look what I did with it. Sort of. I kind of helped him put this thing in here, and there it is, like leaning out over his pathway. It looks super beautiful in the golden light.
When you come down the path, it's like, totally just like the energy, right? It just sweeps.
Yeah.
You know, it just goes.
It looks like a hurricane knocked it over. Now it's growing up again. All right, so you know what I don't know much about that I really want to learn about.
Yeah.
These are these epiphytic rhododendrons, right?
Yeah, Varea. Yeah.
Varea.
Type. Yeah.
So what's the deal? They're from like Polynesia or something. Where are they from? You know where they're from?
Believe it or not.
I stumped him.
From Borneo.
Oh, they're from Borneo. No, I didn't stump them.
Indonesia.
Okay.
I haven't read up on this in a while. I used to know. But this was a cutting that I got at UC Berkeley plant sale. It was actually a cutting from Paul Licht, who used to be the director of the garden there, from his garden.
Wow.
So I don't know where he got it from. But
Is this your only one? I know there's a lot of
there's
different
actually,
colors.
Yeah, it's the only one I have. Yeah.
And do they typically bloom in October like this?
It blooms year-round.
This year-round, really?
Year-round.
What, is that like more flowers
Yeah,
coming
there'll
up?
be more flowers coming.
Flower
yeah,
bud
yeah,
in there?
yeah. And then you can just see it just
Oh,
terminally,
there they are.
right?
Here they come.
Yeah,
Right
at every
there.
yeah.
So that is so it's an ever blooming shrub.
It
Now
seems
these
to be
things
here.
they're going to be a little cold tender, right?
Yeah, but it started out as like in a
Oh,
little
look what we.
4-inch pot.
I don't remember doing that, but did we do that? That
David
big rock?
Schwartz may have done that because I just
It was
wanted
leaning
it.
over a little. Or?
Yeah, just put that. Yeah, I need.
Yeah.
Can we get that out? I don't,
We probably could. We could lift that up with the crane right now and pull that thing out.
maybe we should.
We could do
I
it.
should have done it while your frame was in.
We
the
could do it. I
garage.
wonder
Sorry.
what would happen if. Were we worried a bit about it might break?
I think maybe that must have been. I don't remember, but it's like it's always.
You
fun
could
to-
put another big epiphyte right here and you wouldn't even notice it.
That's true.
I'm sorry to pick out the only imperfection of your garden.
Yeah,
All right, let's keep moving along
All
here.
right, dude.
So I love the fact that you made this. Well, I guess this might have been maybe a David idea. David Schwartz designed the hardscape here. Well, I'm sure when you say design, it was like he proposed something, you shot it down. You proposed something, he shot it down. That's the collaborative.
It was, yeah. No, but this used to be just a level, flat lawn.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I remember driving by this place when these palms were out here, and it was like the only place around that had big, giant queen palms. These things were planted extremely long ago.
Yeah.
These have been here a long time.
Yeah,
I remember
late
seeing
40s.
these many years ago.
Yeah.
But what's cool about this is the way the walkway is curved out. Is that when you stand back at the front door, you don't see the street really. There's the optical illusion right there because the pathway meanders off to the left, and the just the perspective forces you to see all the plant material.
Yeah, the design idea, that what we sort of threw at David was we wanted privacy without fences, without
Right.
the hedgerow.
Yeah.
And he came up with this, let's build a giant berm, a giant
Yeah,
mound,
huge mound.
right? And the backside is the water feature.
Right,
And
the
cool
retaining
thing
wall.
is-
Yeah, you need
Right.
to retain that side.
Right? But the water feature is parabolic.
Yes.
So from the house, you hear nothing but water. You don't get any street noise, but from the street, you don't hear the water.
Right.
So it's like as you come
It-
down the
all
path,
the noise-
there's this whole other world.
That's exactly like before I actually started the video before you got here, and I talked all about that. And it's such a, but yeah, you do a parabola, and it just focuses all that sound where you want it, and away from where you don't, or where it will be wasted. And it magnifies the sound quality too.
Yep. Exactly
But
right.
so let's go and look out by the street out here for some. What do you know the name of this fuchsia here?
No, it's not a fuchsia. It's
That's not a fuchsia? What is it?
No.
Oh, this
it's
is
South African.
It's
Something
a
capensis.
P. P starts with a P.
Yes.
Starts with a P. Give me a P. Give me an I. Yeah, you're right. I actually used to sell this plant.
And it's just
But-
yeah. I mean, I have to hack it way back.
This thing's awesome.
You know, and it's again also almost ever blooming.
What's your favorite time of year in this garden?
Man, I don't know. Every month is something new. I got these for Estrada's review.
I know. I talked about that in the
Oh,
video.
okay. All
These things are big. These are like,
Yeah,
and then what?
Showing them lots of love. They both have been blooming. The smaller one has bloomed 3 times.
Really?
So it's like
And it took a year off.
Yeah, so it's shy on the growth, and whereas this is its first bloom after.
Oh, really?
After in 6 years in the ground.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the thing I love about these, I have these in my garden too,
Yeah.
is well, the thing I don't like about them is how much maintenance they require.
What are you talking about?
All that maintenance,
Uh-huh,
you know?
yeah.
The maintenance it takes to like sit here and look at it and watch it grow and not do anything else. Because look, there's no trimming, there's no maintenance. This is a maintenance-free plant for like 100 years. I don't know if you'll ever need to do maintenance on this plant. Like if you leave the skirt, the cute little skirt,
Right.
then you do nothing.
Now,
I don't
but
even
you can
know.
trim it with scissors, right? You can trim it back. Or,
Yeah, you can do like kind of neaten it up a
don't-
little bit.
I don't know if I have
Or
the
you could strip it
patience.
off, but I like the texture of it.
Yeah.
And so you can see how beautiful it is. It just goes from this beautiful blue green, and it slowly transitions out into brown, and then you get this really beautiful thatch pattern in here, which I think is a beautiful hula skirt.
It's also the way it grows in that world. You get this. Well, it's hard now because it's got all the dead blossoms, but you get this visual like crazy action thing. You look into it, and when
Yeah.
it's lit just right, it's like
Well,
You know,
yeah,
it's
so I
so
tell
fun.
people the same thing with Dandelion. And in
Right.
my house, the Dandelion, you get like the low angle light, which is starting to happen. And you get behind these things and the light starts going through it. And these don't respond to the breeze as much, but the Dandelions will actually shimmer and dance. And if you get kind of sideways behind where the light's coming from, when it's shimmering and dancing, and you've had a couple strong margaritas,
perfect.
that's when the magic happens.
Perfect. All right. Well,
So-
I'm gonna have to wait. I just put some Dandelions in. I've got 2 or 3, but they're all like
Little guys.
Little guys. Yeah.
Okay, so well, that's kind of a young age to be blooming for a Cousonia.
I don't know what happened.
What the
but
heck?
Yeah, it really went for it. So.
Where'd you find this?
You know what? I just got it at the local Ace Garden
Oh,
Center
really?
here in Oakland. It's a great.
Because I know Andy's
great
Annuals
street.
was selling these things for a while.
Yeah, no.
Do you know the name of this aeonium over here? That one?
Oof.
No, that's beautiful. The
Don't
color on that.
recall.
Look at the color on that thing. So
I bought one. I think I may have gotten it from Annie's actually. And
Uh-huh.
but they seed around.
Oh,
you
they
know?
do? They're
yeah,
seeding.
they're monocarpic, so they bloom right.
And
they
that's
make
it?
Lots of seed, and then
they make
bloom.
offsets.
Yeah. You get the
Yeah.
offsets. Yeah.
So let's talk about your Coreopsis, because it's absolutely probably the ugliest plant in the garden right now.
Right now.
But it's such a cool plant, and there's a great story about it. Do you know, what do you know about this? Is this okay, so here's the Coreopsis.
Yep.
This Coreopsis gigantea. It's native to the Channel Islands and also little sections of the Central Coast near the Channel Islands. And it's this crazy native California Dr. Zeus plant. I love all the native California plants, especially when they look exotic.
Right?
You know, the yuccas and all the different ones. And that this one is really exotic, and it grows right on the coast. It's not a desert plant at all. But it grows on these pretty sun-exposed slopes, and then it has this adaptation where it goes completely deciduous during the dry season. In the wet season, it's covered in these beautiful, plumy...
It's like carrot tops.
Yeah,
almost, right?
like carrot tops,
Yeah.
like lime green, and then it gets this incredible yellow flower to it. And so have you had any problem with these dying out here, like rotting or anything like that?
Yes, I have.
Because that's my problem.
That's what happens. They need perfect drainage and no water, no summer water.
No
They
summer
wanna
water
be
at
left
all.
alone.
Okay,
And
leave them alone.
You know, just keeping the Drymondia just from.
I know, I was looking at the
crispy,
Diamondia, it's really crispy, but if it
right,
keeps the
but-
Coreopsis alive, that's what you got to
So
do.
I had these planted like every 3 feet. You can probably see that there's like some dead spots, and I rotted them out all the way up.
Oh, is that what was here?
Yeah.
So I was like, we need something here.
That's what it was. It was like every 3 feet or so. I had
It was a Coreopsis. It was a
Yeah,
Coreopsis
yeah.
street tree planting project.
Exactly right.
And so with this one here,
That
well,
was a seedling.
well, I was going to say, because
Yeah,
that looks like it
volunteer.
it volunteered, like you wouldn't have planted it there. So that's
Yeah.
cool to know that it's trying to naturalize here in Piedmont.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the first naturalizing. Maybe they come back in 1,000 years, and
That'll be all
there'll
that's
be an
left.
invasive species of a California native plant out of its habitat, all because of Dan. But that'll be kind of a good thing, I think. You know, things move around on their own anyway. Cal and Coe.
Yeah, man.
So that's a pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one this big up in Northern California? Probably 6 feet tall, probably 9 feet wide. They've got this beautiful soft foliage on it. So, I mean, look at the size. Here's my hand. Look at the leaf size on that. So what's your experience with this one? I haven't grown this one at my place. Just goes for it?
Just
No
like,
special care?
Just like everything else. I stuck it in the ground 6 years ago. You know, I feed it, you know, in the spring with just some palm fertilizer or just something balanced. And that's it. I don't overwater it. I don't overthink it. It's just happy.
Well, what I like about your style, it's kind of like my style at my place too. I was talking about this earlier, is that, you know, you kind of just don't do anything for a long time, and you end up with a beautiful product. Doesn't need any care, and then after like a year or two, you go in there hardcore,
Right.
and then get the
Right,
dump
things
truck
need
out
cleaning, yeah,
with a chipper,
right.
and then just go
Yeah,
hardcore on it.
yeah,
Is that how you do it?
That's about it. That's it.
And that Safari Sunset with the beautiful backlit. We'll get a little zoom on that there to show that foliage off. This is one of my favorites right here. I love this.
Gorgeous. Yeah,
Red all
I
year.
prune it periodically and bring it in for, you know, just, you know, instead of cut flowers, just
Yeah,
big
just
vase with these.
Yeah.
It's so
yeah. I mean, they're always red, so they have this beautiful coloration. These are and these things will last, like dry or not,
do, exactly.
inside the house. So, okay, is there anything else that you want to show us that you just haven't shown us yet? I saw. Well, let's finish on your porch.
All right.
There's a little project going on. Everyone likes to see the project in progress, and so, but I don't know. Maybe this looks like a place where there's a project in progress all the time. What are we looking at here?
That's a Sancus, also from, it's a Dandelion Tree, also from the San Juan Islands.
Would this be edible like a dandelion?
You know, good question. I've not tried
You
it.
could try it.
Yeah, I've got two different
So-
species.
So this looks almost like
This
the.
is
I mean, a little
it's
bit.
also in the off season, right?
Yeah, it's
So
a similar a little bit to
it's
the
like-
giant Coreopsis.
Exactly.
So there's some parallel evolution
yeah,
going on.
but it's also the the Dr. Seuss garden design ethos, which is it's just so funky.
Yeah,
How can you not love that?
I've never seen this one before.
Right.
So.
It does
then-
seed around. I have to be careful.
Oh, yeah, we have to be careful about that.
So
And then there's a little dickia down there.
yeah, I need to plant that.
Gotta love those. Yeah, you got to make sure that that spot's covered, because if someone came here, they'd be like, "What the? This garden sucks, man. He didn't plant the spot." So Dan promised me. I wasn't sure what this was, but it all makes sense now. It's a Nephafia from South Africa. It's the biggest Nephafia. Have you ever seen a bigger Nephafia than that one?
No, I haven't.
I mean, that's
Not
7
yet.
feet
It
tall.
doesn't mean they aren't around. But
Yeah. So I'm gonna get that. Do you know the name of that one?
Yes, it's Favia multiflora. pretty sure.
Multiflora.
Species.
Why would they call it multiflora?
You know, maybe because there's more than one flower or more
Huh.
than one color.
Well, I wonder if there's more than one color. That's obviously yellow. That's awesome. Like October blooming.
I may be wrong with the species epithet.
Yeah, well, we all are wrong often just because there's so many to keep track of. But yeah, so Dan has pledged that he's going to give me a little baby of that. So that's going to be awesome. All right, we're going to let Dan get back to his happy life here in just a second. Not quite yet, Dan.
All right.
So, Dan, back to this addiction.
Bromeliad addiction. Yeah.
So- So, what can you tell? Wait, what the hell?
So the garden. So I told you the garden. The idea of the garden, right, was the privacy without barrier. So the concept was to plant a more xerophytic type of plants from the sidewalk. And as you come closer to the house and you draw closer to the sound of the water and you see the water, then you get more of sort of the tropical vibe. Hence, the colocasias and, the cycads and the bromeliads. And yeah, I just started with a few bromeliads and I don't know what happened.
See, the bromeliad company needed a warning label on their website.
Yeah, clearly,
that's what happened.
Clearly.
So yes, you're going to go bromeliad crazy, which I think is great. I mean, I want to do the same.
Pineapple.
The only thing that prevents me from doing this myself is time and the fact that I have to do all this work for my customers, which prevents me from doing work for myself, which is what I really like. I mean, I love working for my customers, but what's even better is doing my garden.
Yeah.
But you know what I just really kind of realized here is that I guess it's just fortuitous facing, but the afternoon light that hits this painting of Musa atop falling water is just spectacular. I don't know. Maybe I should let you go back to like doing what you do when I'm not harassing you.
Yeah,
Does that sound good?
Yeah, I'm gonna get a chair and a cold beer
and
watch the painting. Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna get a close up of the painting, and that's how we're gonna end it. But let's hear it for Dan Levin, everybody! Yeah, and David Schwartz, and a little bit of Golden Gate Palms. There it is.